The sound of her hand striking my face echoed louder than the music. Conversations froze, laughter cut mid-breath. The hotel ballroom, bright with golden chandeliers and the hum of celebration, fell into a stunned silence. 200 faces turned toward us. Her face was red, her eyes sharp with something between fury and disgust. My cheek burned, but not nearly as much as my pride. "Don't ever talk to me like that again," she hissed, before storming off into the crowd. And I stood there, frozen, with half a glass of champagne trembling in my hand, the sting of betrayal creeping into my veins. That was the night I decided to disappear. I used to think humiliation was something you could recover from, like a bad memory that fades over time. But when it comes from the person you trusted most, it stains you. It clings. That night wasn't supposed to end like that. It was her company's anniversary gala. An event she'd planned for months. She was glowing, confident, radiant in her emerald dress. I'd been proud of her, until I saw how she looked at him. Ethan, her new business partner. He was younger, smoother, with that kind of careless charm that made people lean closer without realizing it. I watched as she laughed at his jokes, her hand brushing his arm, her smile lingering too long. I tried to tell myself it was harmless, professional. But something twisted inside me. When I finally approached her, half angry, half desperate, I whispered, "You're making a scene with him." And she slapped me. Not because I was wrong, but because I was right. The next morning I woke before dawn. Her perfume still lingered on the sheets, mixed with the faint scent of wine and the metallic sting of betrayal. She was asleep, one hand curled beneath her cheek. I watched her in the half-light, this woman I'd loved for 10 years, and wondered how long she'd been slipping away from me. The gala, the late nights, the phone she guarded like a secret. All of it suddenly made sense. I quietly got out of bed, packed a single duffel bag and left the house. No note. No goodbye. Just gone. For weeks I drifted. Rented a small cabin near the coast. No internet, no phone signal. No noise except the waves slamming the rocks. The first few days felt like freedom. I breathed again. Cooked my own meals. Walked barefoot on the sand. But at night her voice haunted me. I kept hearing that slap, over and over, like a cruel reminder of my weakness. Sometimes I'd scroll through old photos on my phone. Our wedding day. The road trips. The laughter that used to come so easily. I'd stare at those images until they blurred, trying to remember when we stopped being us. I told myself she'd call, that she'd realize she went too far. But the phone stayed silent. Then one night, curiosity got the better of me. I drove into town, found a small cafe with Wi-Fi, and checked her social media. There she was, smiling, champagne glass in hand, standing beside Ethan. Caption: "To new beginnings." My stomach turned cold. The timeline didn't lie. While I'd been unraveling alone by the sea, she'd already moved on, publicly. That slap wasn't a reaction. It was closure. Her final act of contempt before erasing me. I wanted to hate her. God, I tried. But what I felt most was shame, for not seeing it sooner, for letting her make me small, for loving her so much that I forgot who I was. I sat there for hours just staring at that picture. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just went still. And that's when I decided to vanish for good. I sold my car to a fisherman named Luis who didn't ask questions. Used the cash to buy a beat-up motorcycle. Drove north until the road disappeared into pine forests and fog. Every mile between us felt like shedding an old skin. Some nights I'd camp under the stars and think about the life I'd left behind. The career I'd abandoned, the home we built, the woman who once promised to never hurt me. And slowly the ache dulled. Pain doesn't vanish, it transforms. It turns into distance, into silence, into a kind of freedom that only the broken ever understand. Months later, I stopped at a roadside diner near the border. The waitress, a kind-eyed woman named Clara, brought me coffee and pie. We talked for hours. She didn't ask where I came from. I didn't tell her. But when she laughed, something in me thawed. For the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. That night, I realized disappearing hadn't been about running from her. It was about finding myself again. The man who existed before the humiliation, before the doubts, before I started mistaking her neglect for love. A year later, I heard from a mutual friend that she tried to find me. Apparently, Ethan had left her. The business collapsed. She'd been asking if anyone had seen me, but by then I was long gone. Not dead. Not bitter. Just gone, living under a new name, in a quiet town where no one knew the story of the man who got slapped in front of 200 people. Sometimes I still dream about that night. The music, the glassy stares, the sharp sting on my cheek. But now when I wake I smile. Because that slap, the one that broke me, also set me free.